Shabbat Shalom Beth Am community. A very quick communal update, quicker than usual. A little piece of Torah from this week's Parsha and from the Musar movement, from the movement of ethical Jewish living, and then a meditation for those who want to stay. The quick update is that our reopening task force meets regularly, including today, and we're continuing to explore what the next avenues are for bringing our community together. As you know, we're back having Shabbat morning services, whether there are B'nai Mitzvah or not, outdoors on Ziring Field. You know that we are having indoor minyan in the sanctuary, limited currently to about 15 or 20 people for morning minyan. We're now back having Friday night Kabbalat Shabbat services on the field, including tonight at 6:15. Those will continue unless the numbers go backwards, and we're exploring the first opportunity when we can bring a Shabbat morning service back into the building in the sanctuary or the chapel. So we're getting close, and look out for reminders, because that will be a moment for yet another Shechianu, where we can be indoors in the rooms that we're so used to being in with each other, singing and praying and enjoying Shabbat. Okay, now the Dvar Torah. So you know that feeling when you've landed a zinger in an argument? You use just the right tone and just the right words, and your opponent has no defense. It's a moment of triumph, particularly if the stakes are high. Morally and ethically, though, it may be a nadir, the opposite of a victory, unless you're actually in court. In our society, our in-our-heads and litigious and dog-eat-dog and Darwinian survival of the fittest society, emerging triumphant, the victor is the perpetual, relentless goal. We want to win the case, of course. We want to win the Facebook fight, of course. We want to win the argument, of course, whether we are fighting an ideological enemy or even a member of our household. In the moment, it feels as if the only options are to win or to lose. Given that binary, who would choose to lose? The renowned psychotherapist and marriage therapy specialist John Gottman rejects that binary, particularly in marriages. Get out of your head, he suggests, and try to engage with the heart. Even in conflict, the goal is not to reign supreme, but rather to nourish the bond even while trying to get your needs met. For when we don't hold back the words and tone we know could lead to victory, we might win, but relationship loses. And in the other's defeat, we have claimed a piece of their humanity, their very selves. We've devoured them. Similar thinking emerges from the Musar tradition. It's a movement founded by Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, a 19th century Lithuanian scholar. He attempted to re-infuse Jewish life and study with moral and ethical immediacy, focusing on midot, character, in the development of a Jewish person and a Jewish community. So on nearly every verse in the Torah, no matter how ritually picayune or obscure, Rabbi Salanter and his followers saw Hansel and Gretel signs leading us to a more morally and humanely attuned way of life, including within our double parsha, Tazria Metzora. Rabbi Salanter commented on the juxtaposition of this parsha, focusing on all sorts of skin and body oozings and afflictions that would remove someone from the state of tahara or life force, the juxtaposition between that and the previous parsha, Shmini, which ends with the laws of kashrut. And as is commonly understood, the sages of the Talmud interpreted the bodily maladies from our parsha to be directly connected to the sin of lashon hara, of using one's tongue and speech wickedly. Just as humiliating, demeaning speech makes another's skin turn white, has them feel isolated and alone, so too do these skin diseases afflict a person's physical appearance and lead them to a lonely isolation until healing. So why the juxtaposition? Rabbi Salanter says it was to reinforce that just as there are certain foods and animals one cannot consume, for it would be abhorrent, it is equally abhorrent to devour and consume another person, not by biting or chewing, but by spewing venom, spewing biting words, and using heavy rhetoric, and doing everything one can to emerge from an encounter on top. In that moment, he would say, you might feel sated and full and successful, just as you would after eating a big meal of prohibited foods. But both are treif, he would say. He knew then, and we know now, that far too many alert and observant Jews care more about what foodstuffs they devour than what people they devour, sometimes even in the name of religious observance. Rabbi Salanter would call such behavior religiously intolerable. There's no kashrut label for speech. There should be, though. We search high and low for hechshers and OU symbols on our bread and snacks for when we're hungry to eat. And far too often we jettison any notion of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, what is mutar and what is asur, Jewishly, when we are hungry to win. And that leaves us with kosher stomachs and unkosher mouths. The ideal, of course, is for the kashrut of the mouth to match the kashrut of the stomach. And I might say that if only one were to be kosher, the mouth might be the more important one. As we head into Shabbat, another 25-hour period within which we aim to re-achieve the Garden of Eden and heal wounds in our family bonds, using the cathedral of Shabbat to draw close to God and to our loved ones, be on the lookout for such encounters that trap you into thinking that you must win the moment with your words as your ammunition. Watch what you eat. Be careful whom you consume. Use your words mostly not to win, but to heal and to love. Shabbat Shalom. And I miss you, and I love you. And if you want to stay for a meditation, please do so. A short meditation. I invite you to close your eyes and descend into a deep and wonderful place that holds your body and your soul together. You can almost watch your cells creeping towards a calmness and okayness as you depart the normal rhythm of life into this cocoon, which gives you space to breathe and to be, to reacquaint yourself with yourself, and to claim a portion of this day, at least this day, just for regeneration, just for being. You can adjust your breathing so you're moving in from the nose and out through the mouth. It's a lovely stance to try to make the out breaths a little bit longer than the in breaths, so that even your breathing is an act of generosity to the universe. And for this meditation, I want to focus very briefly on what day of the Omer we find ourselves in. We are 19 days through 49. We are in the 5th day of the 3rd week, which means from a Kabbalistic, mystical perspective, we are in the week of Tiferet, which in the Kabbalah means compassion and softness, one of God's emanations. And on the fifth day, we are in Hod Shabbat Tiferet. Hod, which in the Kabbalah means modesty, restraint. When we are in Hod Shabbat Tiferet, we ask ourselves, are we modest in our empathy or haughty? Do we offer it so that we feel good? So we can preen and be proud? Or do we offer it as an agent of God who created others with the need for compassion so that we could fulfill a duty? The moment we offer compassion is not about us and how great we are at offering it. Do we make sure that when we are empathic, the focus is on the recipient of our empathy? How in that moment do we make sure that it is they who rise, who are uplifted, who are held, not us? Hod Shabbat Tiferet. Modesty, some self-smallness, as we are making others be bigger. Offer your kindness, the Shabbat, in the most humble of ways, expecting nothing in return, aside from the simple pride of having done the right thing. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, and I say to you all, again, Shabbat Shalom, and I miss you and I love you, and I look forward to seeing you soon.